Welcome to the podcast today. Today's guest is Karin Whitbeck. Karin was born in Sweden and came to the US in 1990, working as an au pair for a spoiled dog. She never thought she would stay in the US, but she fell in love, got married, and was introduced to massage. Karin has almost 30 years of experience as a massage therapist and is the owner of Therapeutic Massage Center in Southwest Florida. Knowing there is so much more to healing than massage and body work, she added body-mind coaching to her business. A big part of her work is teaching clients to wake up, pay attention, and listen to their bodies, to be aware of what their body is telling them in order to feel better from the inside out. Karin also helps her clients change their stories about themselves so they can love themselves as they are right now and to find their happy place, which we all have within us. So welcome to the podcast, Karin.
Thank you for having me, Peggy. I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited too. I'm excited for our conversation today, and I'm really intrigued about how you came to the U.S. So if you could start the conversation by sharing a little bit more about maybe just a little blip about that and who you are and what led you to become a massage therapist.
Okay, yeah, I came to the US just as a fluke. I've answered an au pair job in Florida for taking care of a dog, and I'm thinking I can do that. So it was a very quick thing, and I was here in like 2 weeks later, and I was going to be here for a year, and I was going to go back and continue my life there. But I met my husband and got married, and I never really went back. So. And after that, as I was a massage therapist, as I was an au pair for this dog, I was bored and I started working out a lot in that gym.
Mhm.
And that's when I got introduced to massage therapy because I got really good friends with them. And the owner said, Corinne, have you ever tried massage? I think you would be good. So he must have seen something in me. And that's sort of after I got married, and that's like, I want to do that. So that's how I got into it. And I've been doing it full time ever since.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how I got introduced to that. And then in 2002, I opened my own business with the business partner.
Mhm.
And yeah,
And it's been growing
yeah,
and
I've been growing. And
surviving.
yes, absolutely. So I'm very proud of that. I've been able to do that for all these years. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
great. What
yeah.
what really kind of allows you to continue with it? Because that's a long time of working in massage. So why do you do that? And how did it keep you going for so long?
Yeah, one of the things that I just love helping people, and and especially since I started adding that, the body mind coaching that I do, just to see when you try to teach people how the body actually works and what, we think that stress is just that's something we need to deal with and live with and
Mhm.
push it down. But
Right.
when you really start to listen to the body, and when I see that the clients actually get it, when it's like, oh, that's what you mean, that's like so rewarding to me that they actually listen and they actually did the thing or
Mhm.
whatever. And
Right.
that's why I'm still doing what I do. And I want to work with people that are on a deeper level than
Mhm.
just massage therapy. Yes, that's great,
Mhm.
but it's so much more to healing,
Yeah.
to the overall health. And so to help people really start listening to themselves and start, and like I said, like you said, about my what I do is about the thoughts and the words that we say to
Mhm.
ourselves,
Mhm.
how harmful that is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more and tell the listeners a little bit more about what is different, when you added the body mind coaching to your practice. How does that work? How do you work with clients using that method?
So what I do, so most of them are massage clients
Hmm.
that comes into the body mind coaching, and it's you can tell them somebody when they come in for massage, and it's like, okay, you probably should stretch or you should drink more water, and and then they come back 2 weeks later, it's like, so did you stretch, did you drink more water? It's like, yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know. We're
But
all
then,
guilty of that, aren't we?
yeah, yeah, and then when you can say, okay, is this something that you really want to get better, do you really want to get out of this situation that you're in?
Mhm.
How about if we work for 3 months every other week for 3 months and see if we can actually, I can help you get there
Mhm.
instead of coming back with the same problem over and over and over again.
Mhm.
tightness in the neck and shoulders, like because I'm driving or, whatever, I'm sitting at the desk. But what is it that you can do?
Can you just notice that on me right now? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one of those things that's, and when you start working with people in a different way, they actually take responsibility and say, yeah, I will do some stretches because that will probably go for me. Instead of me telling them what to do,
mhm,
they coming up with, it's their responsibility to figure out what they can do to help themselves until I see them next time.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because I'm just thinking that, you can only help them so much right there. You can help relax their muscles,
Yeah.
but if they continue to do the same thing, they're going to continue to have tightness, in the shoulders or in the neck or however.
Yeah.
So teaching them that's connected, like connecting the dots almost to
Yes.
how their body is responding to whatever they're doing.
Hmm. And also another thing, so yes, massage is good, but also this can also, if somebody really don't get better, it might be an emotional component that's underneath it,
Mm-hmm.
or it might be something else. They might holding on to their ex-husband in the back of the shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And whenever they get stressed, it's like, okay, but until they get the connection and realizing the connection between their stress or their pain
Yep.
to their body, and that's what I help them do, right?
Yes.
Help them like, oh, I get it now, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of with the body mind method
Mhm.
of coaching that we do, is to help them listen to those signals.
Yeah.
So when that pain in the shoulder is starting to, like, when they first start feeling that, what have I been thinking about? What have I been doing lately? It's like,
Mhm.
what have my mind been? Or am I just, what's going on as a repeat in my head?
Right.
A lot
Right.
of times that's just, and if we can stop that, give them tools so they can deal with it before that shoulder or that nagging pain is stabbing them.
Right. Right.
And yeah, and that's the part of just start listening to the signals that the body has.
Yeah.
Because
Because they're
the body gives us
messages.
signals all the time.
Yeah. The signals
Yeah.
are messages telling us something, but if
Yeah.
we're not paying attention, we don't know what they're saying.
Yes. And
And
we usually don't pay attention until we hit the wall.
yeah.
And then it's like, oh, now I have to do something instead of
Right.
starting, you know,
When the pain gets too much, we try to do something, but
right,
that doesn't it's not going to fix the problem immediately, and it's not going to keep it fixed for the long term.
right. Yes.
So connecting, one, being aware of your body has these signals, and then two, listening to them and connecting the dots. I know you
Mhm.
talked about how the emotions and the thoughts can, activate certain parts of our body and maybe cause some issues and send some signals out. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
If we're more aware of those signals, we can stop the issues before they get
Mhm.
blown up to proportions. So that's really when we start doing something about it. But if we can just be having that awareness, oh, I have a hip pain. Why is that? What have I been doing? What's going on? Instead
Mhm.
of saying, after you've been limping for a month, it's like, maybe I should do something about that. If you start right away, just as an example, one of my clients she was wanting to go on this not long hike in Europe. She wanted to take this trip, but she couldn't because of her hip was hurting. And I did some body work on her. We did some
Mhm.
coaching around it. And then I just asked her, so if that hip was trying to tell you something, what is that really?
Mhm.
The thing is that the body always knows.
Mhm.
The body will never lie to you. And we are always trying to figure things out in our heads, that instead of dropping into our body and trying
Right.
to figure it out. So
Right.
when I asked her that question, she just sat back for a while and she's like, wow, it's fear. And I said, that's interesting, isn't it? She's like,
Mm,
yeah. And now it's years ago. She hasn't had any hip issues since then
That's
because she got the connection between the pain in her hip and the fear that she was holding on to it. Now she has no hip pain. And again, that was not from me working on it. It was just from her realizing what was going on in her body.
right. Just her awareness.
Just getting that connection,
Mhm.
it can let go of the pain.
That is a really interesting question to ask ourselves, right?
Yes,
What is that pain trying to tell us?
yes, yes. And and people like, when you first ask them, it's like, what do you mean?
Mhm, mhm.
It's hurting, but when you really like quiet the mind, and that's one of those things, like we always are up in our heads trying to
Yeah.
figure things out, analyze things, and some people more so than others.
Mhm,
Instead of like, if we quiet down, be still, and tuning inwards, what is that pain trying to tell me?
mhm.
And when you get quiet, and that usually the first thing that comes up, it might be out of the blue, like she's like, fear. It's like she had no clue.
Right.
That was just what came up, and that's what she said.
Yeah.
And anything like that it's so again, the body, this intelligent being that we have is amazing, and we need to start paying attention to it.
Yes. Yes. Just that it's we can have a conversation with our bodies.
Oh, absolutely. I do it all the time.
I'm like, okay, because yeah, it's just they can't speak in words, but you feel.
Exactly. It's the feeling.
Yeah. And so tapping into the feelings, but do you feel like, as I'm using those words again, like, do you think that people just don't like to acknowledge our feelings?
You got it.
How how to get over that? Because it is the messages, and I know you're talking about it. You're talking about being aware. Are there like little tips that like how do you get somebody to, shift from their head to thinking about how they're feeling?
One other thing is just starting that conversation. It's like, and I think it's more about, people need to be willing to
Mhm,
change,
mhm.
because some people are not willing to. This is just the way I am, and that's,
Yep.
I'm just gonna get my massage once a week, and I'm gonna work out, and I'm gonna do this, instead of really like, well, you're working out, but your body's getting worse because
Mhm,
you have been working out too much. But
mhm.
that's what I'm supposed to do. So I'm rambling right now, but
That's
it's one
okay.
of those. If we can just be still, and one of the things, like I said, is just being that awareness, but are willing to try to figure out what it is that they can do to
Mhm,
start feeling better.
mhm,
And one of the big things that I think we do as human being is like, we're always looking outside for the answer.
mhm. Yeah.
Like, I can take that pill and that's going to make me feel better, or I can go to the doctor and they're going to tell me what I need to do, or whatever, right? It's always something outside of
Mhm,
them,
mhm.
instead of, because that's the quick fix. Especially Americans, I think we want the quick fix.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, give
Well,
me a
the
pill and I'm
society these
good.
days is kinda like that. We're
Yeah, yeah. It's
short-term
like,
attention, and
yeah. But again, this body is so, it can be so, if we're more in tune to that, and start again, just paying attention.
Mhm. I know, it's just like, can we ingrain that into
Yeah,
people? Like, just pay attention to yourself. But I
yeah,
think that yeah, you're right, we're just, like, external. I think we've kind of come up with that we are not very smart about our own bodies, but it's the messages that other people are experts.
right.
But we can only help ourselves if we know what's going on inside of ourselves and how
Hmm.
we're feeling. So we can go to the doctor, but the doctor is really just going off of the information we provide.
Exactly. That's another thing.
And
Yes.
if I just say, "Oh, my arm hurts. I don't know why." And they're like, "Well, I don't know. Did you try this?" They could send you to physical therapy to work on stuff. But if you don't dig down, and there is so much emotional feelings wrapped up into our bodies and it's trapped.
Yeah.
I'm and how to get that out is it needs to be acknowledged. I mean, it's in relationships that you think that we want to be acknowledged and we want our feelings acknowledged because that's how we connect with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
And
need to do
also
the
though,
same thing on ourselves.
I was just going to say that, but it's like that, you know, just again, the thoughts and the words that we say to ourselves. If you think of it, what is on repeat on your
Mm,
head
yeah.
on a daily basis? Again, with the thoughts that we have are repeated. We have between like 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day, at least. And, and about 90% of those thoughts are negative. 80% of those thoughts are repeated from the day before.
That's a lot of repeating.
Yeah. So
we're basically thinking the same thing over and over and over and over.
And what we're saying to ourselves over and over and over and over. And how can you change those? And when you keep saying things over and over and over again, it's not going to change because you keep saying those things to yourself.
Right.
And that becomes your belief system. And that's what you believe. I'm never going to get better. I'm never going to do this. Or I'm never going to do that.
I'm always going to be in pain. Right.
Yeah. But if you keep saying that,
that's what's going to be happen, right? Your thoughts become your reality.
Exactly.
And so to change those, we have to interrupt that pattern.
Yeah. And what is it that you want to believe?
True. You got to know that part.
Yeah. How is it that you want to feel?
Yeah. I don't think people really want to feel crappy.
No, but no, they don't. But they don't know how to interrupt that. Or it's also one of those things, yet they might not realize how crappy they feel until somebody asks them the questions like, do you really feel good? Or how is it that you want to feel?
Right.
Because
it's like self.
It's like that comfort, we're in our little bubble. This is just who I am, and this is what I'm stuck with. And I just have to deal with it.
Right. People don't like to change.
No,
but they don't like being stuck either.
Yeah. And it's scary to change. But if you want it's like that. What do they say? If you repeat doing everything over and over again, and
yeah. Oh, like
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. And I'm just trying to think of it. It's just like the definition. Well, I think of the definition of insanity as doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yeah.
And and we're on that hamster wheel of just doing the same thing over and over again. And we say we want to jump off, but we don't. And we might need that interjection from somebody to ask, well, okay, so what is that pain trying to tell you? What is your body trying to tell you? What are you feeling? And where's that coming from? Just asking ourselves some questions can get us to stop and think.
Yeah. And ask ourselves some questions and actually trust ourselves that that's the answer. And again, it's that feeling. It's like, does that really feel that what just came out? I asked myself, what is that pain about? And I'm stressed about work, or I'm stressed, it's like, trust that. And, be curious about it. So what can I do to change that?
Right.
Instead of judging ourselves, instead of doing, be kind to yourself. It's like, okay, so do I really want to change this? And what can I do? What is one little thing that I can do to change that pattern? Right. It's like we need to interrupt that pattern, that cycle that goes over and over. How can we interrupt that?
Right.
And just change. Maybe we just need to change the way we're thinking about it. Or say another word instead of, well, I'm not going to be able to do that, but maybe I can change. Just that little but can, again, the way the brain works, it's really interesting. And
it is, because our brain likes to problem solve, but if we just keep giving it problems and we don't and say we can't change anything, you cut off the brain part. But it's sometimes we do have to cut off the brain part, and really listen in our bodies and not with our heads, because we can, when you come up and you had that example of the ladies that had the hip pain, and it's just like, well, fear. And I could see somebody just going, oh, that can't be fear. I don't and then getting up in their heads versus staying in their bodies and going and being curious about it.
Yeah. And just don't judge yourself, or, or if it's like an emotion that is, we always think like an emotion can be is it a good or a bad emotion? It's just an emotion. Just acknowledge it. Like if it's a sad or an anger, it's not a bad emotion. It's an emotion. Just acknowledge it and move from there.
Yeah. Because we just want to be acknowledged, and our body wants to be acknowledged too. Because we're all one. Our body and our mind is all one, right? So you're like not acknowledging half, 3/4 of your body. So let's acknowledge our body. Let's acknowledge that feelings are just feelings. It's the meaning that you give it that makes it good or bad.
Yeah.
It's what you add to it. sad in itself isn't bad. We all
No,
experience it. We all
yeah.
experience joy, but we attach things to it. So we might attach an experience to it
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't very pleasant, but the way we talk to ourselves about it is not very pleasant. And so
Yeah,
then we don't change that part. What's another view of how we can look at that? How
yeah,
else could we talk about that
yeah.
situation? And we've got lots of examples, but we have to use our own. And that's what you're helping people with.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's also, it's like, we all come with baggage from our life experience and all this.
Mhm,
We all have things in our past that have been hard and difficult and all that.
mhm, mhm.
And when people come and see me, and when I work with them, it's like, I'm not, because again, I'm not a therapist.
Right.
What can we do from here moving forward with the stuff that you have,
Mhm.
that you're going to bring with you?
Yep.
But what is it that we can do if there is something that you don't want to keep repeating? How
Mhm.
can we change that?
Yeah.
And what can we do from now moving forward?
Right. Right.
Like one of the things is like, I'm a boater. So I love boating, right?
Yeah.
So if you think of a boat, the bow of the boat, that's your future. The front of the
Mm.
boat. The center of the boat is your present.
Yep.
The stern of the boat, the back of the boat, that's your past. We're not going to go backwards. We're not going to back this boat up. We're going to move forward. And how can we do that with with you as a whole person? There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with you, but how do you want to live moving forward?
Right. Right. Do you want to drive into the, like, I'm just thinking, do you want to drive into the waves and the whole, thing, or do you want to drive into more of a smoother,
Smooth,
you know?
yeah, smooth sailing, and like, like as I'm a boater, so when the boat start rocking, and that's just like your daily kind of, um, your daily issues that comes up, and
Right.
how do you figure out how to maneuver from that and move forward, keep
Right.
just moving forward and go from
Right.
there.
Sometimes you have to just hit that wave straight on. I don't know. I don't boat, so I don't know if that's a good idea or not. But that's a
Yeah,
great analogy, because we can say, because we're dragging our past with
yeah,
us
yeah,
everywhere we go.
yeah.
Like, there has to be a back end of the boat.
Hmm.
And the boats I'm used to seeing, always the motors in the back. So
Yeah.
so it's propelling you forward, but you're
Mhm.
still dragging that, but you have to deal with it. How do you can make it lighter
I
by
was just
not.
gonna say, how heavy do you want that to be? It's part of who you are.
Mhm,
Accept that, acknowledge it, be proud of who you are, and move forward. Start feeling good about yourself now,
mhm.
because there's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
And that's one of those things like, well, I'm a bad person. Are you really a bad person? No, you're not a bad person. You're a good person that want to do something different.
Mhm.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
And start realizing that, we are whole as we are. We're
Mhm.
good people, and that just move from there. And if there is something we want to change, we can.
Right. Right. We have that
Because
power to do that.
yeah, because we came into this life as an empty shell,
Mhm.
and our experience, that's how we are, the person that we are now.
Yeah.
And if it's something that we are not really happy with, you have a choice to change that. It's up to you,
That's
right?
right. That's right. And we can
Yeah,
choose to change our thoughts. We can choose to ask ourselves some different questions. We can choose to tune into our bodies and become more aware of what our body is telling us,
yeah,
and that it has the power to do whatever you choose to do. So you can change and make your life, sail off into the sunset where it's really pretty.
yeah. If that's what you want,
That is,
I mean,
that
that's
is
you. It's up to you to do what it is to do.
right.
What it is that you want to do with it.
That's
And
right.
I think one of the things that I think we need to start, like I said, we need to sort of get out of our heads a little bit.
Mhm,
But we also have to, again, listen to our heart.
mhm.
We also, this is might go into a totally different thing, but we actually have three brains:
Oh,
brain
okay.
in our head, brain in our heart, and brain in our gut, the enteric nervous system, like
Mhm.
the second brain.
Okay.
And those things,
Yep.
there's so much information, like like the gut feeling that we have, right? Why is that? What is it? We all have had that gut
Mhm,
feeling, but a lot of
mhm.
times we ignore it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we're coming up here, it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that.
Right, right,
Yeah. Instead of listening, the body's like, no, this is leaning forward. It's like it's pulling you in. And no, I want to do this.
right.
But the brain says, nope.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like if we can just, and that's another sign that we need to listen to that.
Yeah, that's so interesting to bring that up because we we often use our head as the brain, and that's where we think the brain, is. Well, it's the organ, it is there, but the heart, which is really telling us, a lot of, I think, the feeling part,
Oh yeah.
the emotions of that, and the gut is so important because that's, I almost think that's kind of right up there with the head brain because we have that emotion in the heart, but the gut feeling, like you talked about,
Uh-huh.
that runs the show. And we have that. That's our center of our
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah. And the thing is that with the gut feelings, like there is more, with the vagus nerve, and that's a whole different, subject,
Mhm.
but there is more information coming from
Mhm.
through the vagus nerve. That's gets all the information to the organs and all that, and so
Mhm.
much more. But there is more information coming from the gut to the brain than the brain down.
Mhm.
So, if we're just more aware of that, to tune in. So can you imagine if your gut, your heart, and your head are on the same level, then you're golden, right?
You're
But how
sailing.
do you tune into that? How
Right.
can you figure out? Again, that's another one when you're working with the whole body instead of pieces, puzzle
Yes.
pieces. You're
Right.
working, as
Right.
body as a whole, and then you can help people get in tune with all of those,
Yeah.
again, from head to toe,
Yeah.
kind of
And
move from
and people, I feel like people sometimes are like a little hesitant to think of, to trust their intuition.
there.
But we have all had those experiences where, I mean, I think the simplest one is like, oh, you're walking out the door and you forgot something, but you can't, your brain is like trying to rack it, right? You're just like,
Right.
but you have this feeling that you have forgotten something. And
Yeah.
then your brain's like, no, you got everything, right? And you go and you get in your car and you leave, and like 2 minutes later, like your gut's like, hello, I was telling you something, but you weren't paying attention and you weren't pausing
Yeah.
to understand what I was telling. So boom, you forgot this.
Yeah.
It finally comes up, but you didn't
Yeah.
allow it the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like the same thing. Like if somebody asks you to do something, and you really don't want to do that, or or your body is like, oh gosh, but you do it anyway because you have to, or you should, or
Right.
should.
Yeah.
But then you really feel bad. So again, if you start being more in tune to your body, or if you want to do something, like if you want to change a job, I
Mhm.
want to change jobs. I got this new opportunity, but it's really out a little bit. It's a stretch.
Right.
But the gut says, "Oh, I want this. I want this,"
Yes.
but your brain says, "No, that's scary. Don't go there." And if you think back, though, when you have, if when the times that you listen to your gut,
Mhm.
the times when you didn't,
Yeah.
what was the outcome there?
Right.
And most of the time, when we listen to the gut, like I said before, the body will never lie to you.
Yes. So it's that connection. We're trying, trying to connect our gut with our heart and our brain.
Hmm.
And when we're all connected, we are flowing. We
Yes.
are in our zone. We are doing awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when we disconnect and say, no, I'm not listening to you, gut, or your heart, that becomes a disconnect. And it kind of snowballs into more of a negative thing. I feel like
A lot of times it does.
it wants to tell you when you're not listening, and then it'll come out in other ways.
Yeah. And a
Sometimes
lot of times
physical pain.
yeah, physical pain or even disease or an
Yep.
illness,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're not, because the body is so trying and trying and trying, and then it's, as an example, and this happens all the time, like you have a deadline, you got to do something, you
Hmm.
work your little tail off to get that done, right? And then when you're just like, okay, I'm done. How many times do you get sick after that? You get a cold or you get like the flu, but it's not until you're done with that because the body's like, okay, I'm gonna get this done, but then when you
Right.
relax,
Right.
it hits you.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
I think of another example of how if you're worried about something and you know you need to make a decision, but you're not making a decision and you worry and worry and you're stressed because there's a disconnect and but you're up here and like, oh, I said I was gonna do this, but you're just like, that's your feelings is like, no, that's not right. You can't do that, and you're disconnected. You can get sick that way too.
Oh, yeah.
I've been physically like stomach flu sick because of that worry and the stuff before. So our body is so brilliant.
Oh, it is. It is. It's like, it's amazing that we're just ignoring it, and it's driving me crazy.
I mean, if you knew how brilliant your body is, wouldn't you just want to love it more and like try to get some
Yeah,
more information out of it? I think I would.
yeah. Like, yes, love it more, and like, we need to love ourselves for who we are, and like the stuff that we say to ourselves, coming back to the thoughts and the words and stuff like that, and the, the stuff that you say to yourself, would you ever say that to your best friend?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, no.
No. And I always say, if you talk to yourself like you talk to your best friend, would you have any
Exactly.
friends?
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So that's one of
Nice.
those, like, again, we need to love ourselves for who we are, and yeah,
Yes. That's wonderful.
yeah,
As we wrap up today, our conversation has been great. We could continue for a
yeah.
long time because we're both passionate about this topic. So,
Yes, yes.
but how can listeners find out a little bit more about you or your therapeutic massage center?
The best way is probably just send me a message on Facebook or even email me.
Awesome. I'll put those links in the show notes as well so
Okay.
people can reach out and click easily. So as we wrap up here, so what is a thought or a quote or something that you would like to leave the listeners with today?
One of my favorite quotes is from Jim Rohn, and this quote is like the three C's.
Mhm.
You always have a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change.
It's been a pleasure talking with you today, Karin. I'm so happy that we got to connect and so excited for people to learn more and just about themselves and hopefully take this and really listen to themselves to become more aware of what their body is telling them.
Thank you so much for having me, Peggy. This was fun. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.